DTM Nagaraja Rao.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for that nice introduction. Shall I share my screen now?
Yes, sir, sure.
It's already.
Okay. All right. Thank you. It's a nice feeling to be back in Macon after a long time. I see a lot of familiar faces, some new faces, and it's a privilege to be taking an education session in my home club. Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate that. A couple of years ago, a district director from Pune invited me to speak about how to handle changes and challenges. I'll tell you the first thing that came to my mind. Hey, I'm living in the same city for 50 years. I'm working in the same job for 30 years. I'm married to the same person for 26 years. What can I speak about change? But then I realized that the journey has not been smooth. There have been many ups and downs, gains and losses. So this presentation is a small attempt to share my learnings with the hope that you will find it interesting. Is that okay?
Perfectly okay.
Nice. Thank you. So now before we begin, I want to hear from you. We know that change is inevitable, but then why do we resist it? I want to listen from your perspective.
Fear of unknown, sir.
Okay.
Uncertainties.
Okay.
And also it's a human tendency to resist change.
And also come out of a comfort zone.
Okay.
Lazy also, sir.
Okay.
Old habits die hard.
Uh-huh.
Old habits die hard.
Old habits die hard. Okay.
Fear of failure.
Fear of failure. Excellent. Anything else?
Our mind usually resists any changes.
Okay. Okay. So thank you. All these answers are correct. But there is a deeper reason for resisting change. Now let's go back to the days when we were living as hunters and gatherers. Imagine a tribesman in Africa, a hunter who is familiar with zebras. Now when he looks at some stripes in the bush, his brain lights up. Immediately it says food. Now, but suppose he sees a brown creature with a bushy hair around its face. Can you see it on the screen? Bottom right corner. Yeah. So he starts running in the opposite direction. So his mind associates the stripes of a zebra with food and the mane of a lion with death. And these are called thought patterns. Even in the modern day, we have these thought patterns. We are conditioned to think like that. When a snake enters your house, you would scream and run without even waiting to see if it is poisonous or not. Now, when somebody offers you a fruit, you take a bite without thinking about possible pesticides, right? Now, the problem appears when there is a change in those external circumstances. For example, let us say an Asian tiger is introduced into the African jungle. Now the tribesman is confused. His mind says stripes, food, but then wait, it looks dangerous. So he's forced to create new thought patterns which differentiates between the stripes of a zebra and that of a tiger. Now let's do a small activity. I want you to think of one change or challenge that you have encountered in your life. It can be small or big, whatever, doesn't matter. I want you to share this today in 1 minute. You have to cover 3 points. What was the change or challenge? How did you deal with this change? And what did you discover about yourself in this process? I'd like the mics to be unmuted, please. Go ahead. Whoever.
Hello.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
The one change that I had faced in my last 3 years was shifting from Vadodara to Bangalore. So it was like all 18 years I was at my home, living with my family. Okay. So all 18 years it was peace. But going to a new city, staying there away from parents was a big change. So how did I deal with the change was, I found my family at my hostel there. So I found a new family there. And what did I discover about myself in this process was, it's not difficult for me to make friends. Like I can easily befriend people, and yeah, that's it.
No, that's fine. The change was a physical location, but what was the challenge in moving? What was the fear?
The fear was, I'm going to a completely unknown place where I won't be knowing people. So it's a completely new atmosphere for me, where I won't be seeing my
Okay.
parents every day like I usually do.
Okay. The challenge was, how do I face strange circumstances and strange people, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the discovery that happened?
The discovery is like, I can easily gel with people. I can adjust myself to
Okay.
different atmosphere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello. Hello, I'm
Yes,
Prakash here.
please. Go ahead.
Nagaraja.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So earlier we used to be comfortable when we discuss with the team in the office. When suddenly the lockdown happened and when we started working virtually, I mean, it was a problem for us to connect to the teams.
Okay.
So I mean, suddenly there was a change from face-to-face meetings to virtual meetings. So
Okay. That
people
was a
were,
physical change. What was the challenge in that?
the challenge is mainly about the network bandwidth, because our team members were in different parts of rural places across India, where they are not able to
Okay.
connect on live, because if there any presentation, if they want to present on any Excel sheet or present so PowerPoint, it was very difficult for them to
Okay.
connect. And
Okay. How
even
did you deal with this change?
I mean, many of the times our team members used to come to the spot. I mean, if it is the bandwidth is not available in their home, they used to move to some secure places where the network was good. So they used to connect with us.
Okay.
But slowly we also adapted to the change, because we wanted the business to transfer. We wanted the business to continue. So there was no other go to live with that change.
Okay, so there was a challenge and you overcame that challenge. So what exactly did you discover about yourself in this process?
I mean, there is no limit for connectivity. Either it may be the physical or virtually. We have
Okay,
always a
okay.
solution where we can deal
Excellent.
with the changes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So one last opportunity.
Hello,
One more
sir.
sharing.
Can I go, sir?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
So for the past 10 years, I've been an outdoor person. I used to go out to cycling, running, football, any sports for that matter. All of a sudden, we were just confined to our four walls at the house. I had this adrenaline pump all the time during the day. I like, how do I do some exercise, or how do I enjoy, or how do I move around and learn things? But then I discovered that it's not necessarily that you have to go outside and do this stuff. I started doing these small workouts at home. I started playing TT in the house. Then I was not a very person who used to hit the gym, but then I prefer that other works can be done and learn ourselves.
Okay, thank you. So
Can I also,
from this sharing, let's move on.
Okay.
I'll give you more opportunities later on.
Okay.
So thank you. Sorry for that.
Yeah,
So what we see is change is inevitable. You can't avoid it. Now, when faced with challenges, we discover our hidden strengths. If you look at all the three people who shared, they discovered they already had that strength in them to deal with this challenge, but it was not in their awareness. They did not know that they were able to do it, right? So the next question is, when exactly do you actually discover your hidden strength, right? So when does that happen? Now, this happens when you realize that your assumption about your environment is no longer true. When you came up with new conclusions based on your new experience. You know, we deal with our environment based on our internal maps. The reality is different from the map inside. So when you redrew your internal map to reflect the current reality, you begin to discover your hidden strengths. See, if you look at the example of the tiger and the tribesman, he knows what to do. When there is a food, he has to go and attack and hunt it. When there's danger, he has to run. But the problem is to recognize what is food and what is danger. So similarly, we already have our hidden strengths inside us, because if that was not there, we would not have survived or come so far in life. The change forces us to change our internal reality, internal map to reflect the current reality. So this is the key. You have to continuously question your assumptions about the world around you. You have to validate each assumption with your latest experience. And that's how you adapt to change easily. So the next point is there anything we can do today so that we are better prepared for future challenges? Yes, in my experience, I have found 3 things that are very helpful in dealing with change. So first thing is to develop confidence through authenticity. So I would like to give my own example, and my mentor is here. So this is a good opportunity for me to share my experience. It was in January 2002 when I joined Toastmasters, and I was terrified of public speaking. Like Anjali shared today, I was extremely scared. And my mentor, A.K. Prabhakara, pushed me into the club. He said, swim. I jumped and drowned. You know, I made a thorough fool of myself in handling table topics. I came up gasping for air, and he saved me. He taught me how to arrange my thoughts in a cohesive manner, how to present them in a way that made sense to others, and I started giving speeches. A couple of months later, I was gaining confidence, and he dropped another bombshell. He challenged me not to speak about any topic which I was not convinced about. I had to speak about only those topics which I believed in. For example, I had prepared a beautiful speech about dental hygiene. You know, those days we had to go and show the speeches to our mentors. Only when he approves, we are authorized to come and speak at the club. So he looked at it and he asked me this question: you should not be giving this speech. Are you a dentist? You know, even though I argued that there is a proverb in Kannada which says, "Hosa doctor kinta hale rogi uttama." So I said, I'm a long-standing patient, and an old patient is better than a new doctor. He did not buy it. I had to write an entirely new speech about coffee. By the time I completed my CC, it took me 2 years. I had written and delivered 10 full speeches. Now, all of them were about issues I deeply cared for. I was truthful, I was sincere, and my audience recognized my sincerity. And I could see that I was able to connect with them. They connected with me. I could see they were actually listening to me, and they believed in me. Now, the beauty is, I started believing in myself. I started believing that my ideas were good enough, and I am good enough. And authenticity gives you confidence. And the funny thing about confidence is it is contagious. It's like getting a common cold, you know. Once you catch this confidence, it spreads to other areas of your life. In my case, it spread to my business. And again, I would like to share another example from my business. When I completed my engineering, I joined a family business. It was a very, very small firm. There were just 4 people working in it. And for the next 15 years, we worked very hard to improve it. But we did not taste success. And I was very keen to take it to the next level. I joined different things. You know, I went to yoga, I tried meditation, and I also joined Toastmasters. Now, Toastmasters gave me this new perspective. I realized that my speeches were powerful because they were unique to me. So for our business to transcend to the next level, our coffee would have to be unique. It would have to be different compared to anything our competitors provided. Now, it was a time when almost all coffee in India tasted the same. There was hardly any innovation. The only way to be different from our competitors was to get the latest machines and technologies from Europe. Now, that was very expensive. The question in my mind was, would it be worth it? And my Toastmasters experience gave me that confidence. Yes, go for it. So in 2006, our dream of having imported machinery became a reality. And that was a turning point of our business. So I would like to encourage each one of you to develop your confidence through authenticity. Be true to yourself, embrace your uniqueness, work on your strengths, build on your strengths, manage your weakness. Your weakness will never become your strengths. Don't waste time in trying to convert your weakness into strength. Surround yourself with people who have strength. Sorry? Am I audible? Okay. So surround yourself with people who have strengths, which are your weaknesses. So when you are authentic and the confidence you get is something precious and it is incomparable. So the second thing you can do is to build a support system of good relationships. Now, a few years ago, I read about this beautiful experiment called the Spaghetti Tower Marshmallow Challenge. You know, marshmallow is a kind of candy. The idea is very simple, okay? The participating teams are given supplies to work with, spaghetti, tape, and string. And they're given 18 minutes to build the tallest tower possible that can support a marshmallow. The interesting thing is there was a team consisting of management students and there was another team which had only kindergartners, 3 to 4 year old kids. Now, same project, same resources, and the experiment begins. The management students got down to work, they asked questions, generated ideas, they arrived at decisions, very, very professional. You know how they work. Now, the kids are very different. They did not analyze or strategize. Their interactions were haphazard. They suddenly grabbed materials from one another. And when they spoke, it was like, hey, give me, take this. No, not this. Absolute chaos. The management students appeared to be collaborating, right? Who do you think won? In dozens of trials held all across the world, kindergartners built structures that averaged 26 inches tall. And management students, they build structures with an average less than 10 inches. So can you guess what's the reason? It's very simple. These management students, even though they appear to be collaborating, but in reality, they're engaged in status management. They're confused. You know, a lot of questions in their mind. Who is in charge here? What are the rules? Is it okay if I oppose somebody? There is hesitation. There is subtle competition. Now, instead of focusing on the task, they're navigating their uncertainty about one another. And then they run out of time. But the kids, they are different. They are blissfully unaware of their status. They stand shoulder to shoulder, work towards one goal. They don't care who gets the credit or, you know, whether they fail or they try out different things. Somehow they collectively stumble towards effective solutions. The point to note here is the kindergartners succeed not because they're smarter, but because they're better connected as a team. There is no ego involved. They don't care who gets the credit or who the boss is. They enjoy working together. They succeed because they have genuine connections and good relationships. And I saw this phenomenon in action in Ovation 2008. It was the second annual district conference in India. And I was the chairman of that year. Prabhakara was there, Bhatt was there. It was a demanding task. You know, I was inexperienced, my team was inexperienced, and my mentor suggested that I follow this high performance leadership manual. He is always very structured, you see. So it talks about how to create a vision, mission, goals, key result areas. So those things are fine, but they did not really work. You know what really helped? The camaraderie between the team members. I remember that so clearly even today. 73 volunteers worked together as if they were a part of the same family arranging their sister's wedding. In the final days, some of them did not eat, some of them did not sleep, and when it was all over, they hugged each other and cried. we had actually pulled off a miracle. We had collected 20 lakhs those days. And this was only because we worked together with a childlike curiosity and joy. We are, basically we are social animals. It is so much easier to handle challenges when you have a support system of genuine connections and good relationships. And the time to build those relationships is now, not when you're faced with a challenge, because it takes time and care and understanding and empathy to build good relationships. The third thing which I would recommend you to do is to serve a cause greater than yourself. I'm not asking you to be a Mahatma Gandhi or a Swami Vivekananda. You don't even have to be somebody like Salu Marada Timmaka who got this Padma Award recently because she planted thousands of trees in the national highway. You can practice service even in simple activity like Toastmasters. Here we are not competing with each other. We are collaborating to become better. We give speeches, we receive feedback, there is no instructor, no student. And just by this simple act of helping each other improve, we become better. Now, gradually, as I said earlier, this habit or attitude of helping the community becomes a habit. And let me give you another example. A few years ago, there was this area director who had 5 clubs in his area. And for some reason, personal reason, he had to quit office after 5 months into his term. The district director is worried. The question is, who will replace this area director? After 5 months, the person who takes his place will not get any credit for the role. Now it's a thankless job. So when he heard about this, a former division director stepped in. I can mention his name because I have taken his permission. It was Arjun Sundar Raj who said, I'm already experienced. I'll take up this role. I don't need the credit. So when asked why he did this, Arjun's answer was very simple. This movement has given me so much. It is my time to give back. Now, this is just an example of having a desire to serve a greater cause. Friends, you see it all around you. Assistant area directors, assistant division directors, judges, mentors, members helping out, all doing it, not for any credit, but for the simple joy of helping others. Now, why do they do it? The question is, why do you do this? That is because when you identify with and serve a cause greater than yourself, you will get a different perspective about life. You develop a holistic outlook. Somehow your challenges don't seem to be as threatening as before. You take them in your stride. I recently heard this about an astronaut when they went to the outer space and they looked at Earth. Somebody asked him, what did you feel about it? There's a tiny blue dot and there is such a huge universe outside. And there's only one place where life is possible, human life is possible. And they said, it is such a beautiful sight to look at the moon, look at the earth from outside. And our heart was full of love for our mother planet. All the conflicts or the wars and the difference of opinion, the political differences, all those things look so small and irrelevant and worthless when you look at Earth as a whole. And this is the only place where we can have human life. Similarly, when you identify with a cause which is greater than yourself, you get that beautiful perspective which allows you to get a different look about life so that you are better able to handle the challenges in your own life. So to summarize, these are the 3 things you can do to be better prepared. Developing confidence through authenticity, developing a support system of good relationships, serving a cause greater than yourself. So in conclusion, I would like to give you a story. Let me see if you can guess who this person is. Many years ago, a tall young man came to Mumbai in search of an acting career. He was rejected for being too tall. He was rejected by All India Radio because his voice was too gruff. Now in 1969, he got his first break to act in a movie, but he struggled for another 2 years to get his second role. In 1982, he met with an accident on a movie set. The doctors did not think he will survive, but he recovered, went on to become a superstar. But again, at the age of 57, his movies began to flop. He tried his hand at politics, failed. He tried his hand at business, failed. He almost became bankrupt, but then he adapted. When movie stars looked down upon the medium of television, he anchored Kaun Banega Crorepati and became a game changer. Every time the circumstances around him changed, he changed. He reinvented himself. And that's what keeps Amitabh Bachchan relevant even today. So I'd like to leave you with the words of the great man himself. He said, change is the nature of life, but challenge is the future of life. So challenge the changes, never change the challenges. I'm happy to take your questions now.
Mr. Nagaraja, Vijay Upendra here.
Yes, sir.
See, personality as per research really develops within 3 years of a child. Only the behavior can be changed as per research. How do you correlate these two things in the challenges situation is what the question is.
You are very right. You know, most of our brain gets developed before we are age 10. And our intellectual capacity reaches its peak by around age of 15, 16 years. After that, what happens? We gain in our experience and the way we interpret things. And this is called maturity, how to handle things. You know, you improve your intellectual quotient or the emotional quotient and the spiritual quotient just by interacting with people. So you have to have an open mind and continuously question your assumptions about how to deal with people and circumstances in your life. And you become better and better with this. The funny thing is, you know, usually you are given a lesson and a test. In life, life gives you a test and then the lesson. So it is like entering into life without an instruction manual. That is a sad reality. And you understand the rules as you play along. And the funny thing is, the moment you figure out those rules, the rules of the game changes or the rules change. So the only way to stay ahead is continuously keep learning and then adapt to the changing circumstances.
Mr. Nagaraja Rao,
Yes, please.
compared to our age, now the children are exposed to explosion of information, WhatsApp,
Yes.
good, bad, etc. They are changing very fast. Traditional relations are breaking down and the relationships and other things are increasing. How parents should manage this? This is a big change.
Yes. Thank you for this question. You know, there is a misconception that information is knowledge. You know, information is not knowledge, and knowledge is not wisdom. And wisdom is not the truth, and truth is not beauty, and beauty is not love. This is told by Einstein. Now, as elders, you have the experience, knowledge, and the wisdom, and the children may have only the information, and they're not exposed enough to life to gain this wisdom. So what you can do is to pass on the values which are universal, which are timeless. You know, conditions can change, information can change, the values do not change. The only contribution you can make to your children's life is to pass on your values, which will anchor them during these times of turbulence, which will hold them steady and which will help them to navigate through the storm of life. You cannot give them the answer. You can only equip them by giving them values.
Sir
So,
Prakash here.
Yes.
Uh, of course, I mean, I can say challenge the change is easy. But if you see in pandemic crisis, many of our friends, colleagues are hearing stories in the LinkedIn where people have lost their jobs. Okay. See, I mean, they can try for the other vacant positions, but it is not available. So everybody are in such a miserable condition where neither they're able to get a job. Everybody are having some financial commitments where they cannot challenge that change. So what is your say for them?
Now, I would like to limit this discussion for personal challenges, sir. So if you have a personal challenge, I can help you navigate through your thought process and discover your hidden strength. So because that is a subject matter of another discussion. So I would like to focus today on your ability to conquer challenges.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Next, please.
so I'd like to ask something. You said a challenge are assumptions, but my question is, some of these assumptions are so inherent in us that we don't even know that we carry these assumptions. As in, they are a result of years of conditioning and years of what we've been listening and how we've been taught in schools and other places. So how do I know that I have an assumption that's deep rooted, and how do I know when it's time to challenge it and finally break out of it and change? That's my question.
Excellent question. Let me share my experience again. See, I have been a vegetarian throughout my life, and I had this mistaken notion that vegetarians are gentle people and non-vegetarians are by nature more aggressive. Okay, so that was put into my head right from childhood. And 2014, I was a region advisor and I went to China. And I met the district governor, who was such a sweet guy, who is a very gentle person. And we went out to have lunch together. And he is having a plate full of some seafood. It's kind of some scorpion kind of a thing with beady eyes, and those eyes were staring at me. Okay, so he's chopping them off and eating that. It was such a shock for me. See, my assumption is being questioned right there. He's such a nice guy and he's eating such food. That was a time I questioned my assumption that whether non-veg food is really, whether it produces aggressive people. And that was wrong. So I think if you have an open mind, you will be having so many experiences in life, which will continuously force you to question your assumptions. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Nagaraja, one last question.
Yes. Right.
In the area of art, in the area of sports, in the area of business, and in different areas, you see people doing reasonably well to a particular stage. They face failures, and they find it very, very difficult to bounce back. Now, I will limit this question to challenge the change.
Okay.
Now, similarly, we have seen people, particularly in business, they go to jails because for a bigger project, they would have gone for a loan and they find it difficult. You see in art, people getting suicide. And in sports, you see they are devastated. Is there one mantra that we all can take home today, that in the process of challenge the change and you embrace something, you are open to a particular thing, that largely we are successful? Is there one strong mantra?
Sure. Okay, I understand all the examples you are given. At the same time, you will find there are hundreds of people who are in similar circumstances, and yet they come out victorious, right? They conquer these challenges, maybe worse than these conditions, and yet they come out victorious and they're hugely successful. So what is the difference between somebody who succumbs to pressure and folds up and the person who takes it as a challenge and moves forward? So assuming that both are equally competent and capable. So there is a difference, right? The difference is this: the person who gives up interprets the reality as something which is beyond his control, and the current capabilities what he has is no longer good enough to face those challenges. that is a conclusion he comes to. Whether right or wrong, we don't know. Now the other person who becomes successful comes to the conclusion, I have enough resources, internal resources and external resources to conquer these challenges. This is only a temporary setback and I am going to turn out victorious. Now, it is not a guarantee that he will always win, but the chances are 90% of the time, the person with a positive outlook will somehow find a crevice to hang on and move forward, compared to a person who comes to that erroneous conclusion that all is lost and it's the time to give up.
Thank you, sir.
So, do we have time for more questions?
Sir, the time you have taken till now is 35 minutes.
Okay,
40
so we
seconds.
have a couple of questions. Okay, so I can take two more questions, please.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
There was a question regarding assumptions, but for example, I mean, talking on the same lines, as per our cultural values and our family background, sometimes whenever we start anything, we start with certain expectations, or I mean, maybe I would say expectations instead of assumptions. So if
Right.
we don't we find our expectations coming true, then definitely it's because of some change. So is it that we should never have expectations, or we should have expectations but maybe accept them if they don't materialize?
Okay, let me ask you this. You have expectations, you want to go somewhere and you try something, it doesn't work. So what does it mean? Or what do you do? If something doesn't work, what do you do?
Then I learn my lesson and then move on.
No, sir. If you try something, it doesn't work, you try something else, correct?
Yes,
You
sir.
try different ways of doing that, correct?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
you continuously experiment until something clicks. So this is the game of life. So there is no fixed formula for success. You keep trying. The only choice you have is, when do you stop trying? And you can't keep on doing the same thing again and again and expect different results. So you have to try out new things. For that, either you be creative yourself or take help from others and try their suggestions. So finally, it is you who is going to try out with different things and continue on that journey until you reach your goal. Don't
Sure.
give up your expectations. Never.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, one more, please.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Continue.
I have a challenge. My son wants to start a startup and leave the present job. But I am scared because he may lose everything. This is a big change for me. How should I make him success? Because startup, I don't know what is going to be the future. It is somewhere I am afraid also. Can you kindly guide
Yes,
me?
sir. Now, let me ask you the question. So what is, see, that is a challenge he is facing. What is your challenge?
My challenge is, if he takes my resources present to the startup and he loses it,
Right.
then both
Correct.
will be lost.
Correct. Correct. So the question is, the challenge is, what if I lose my resources? Correct?
And both, he may also.
No, that is different, sir. Your
Because
present
he
challenge.
already tried once and he did not succeed. He wants to repeat.
Now that is his challenge. Your challenge is, there is a possibility that he might lose. Whether am I willing to lose this? That is your
Okay.
challenge, correct?
Okay.
So that is the challenge, right? So now that's the exact question now. So what you have to do, should I give it or I should not give it? That is your question.
Yeah, if I give it, yeah, he will be in good terms. If I don't give it, he thinks that the father is not helping me.
Huh. So what is at stake here? Your relationship or your image with your son is at stake, not the money.
Everything in parts.
Right. So that is what you have to do, some introspection. What is more important for me? Can I take the risk of losing my resources, or can I take the risk of losing my relationship with my son and make sure that he and I are safe? That's a choice you have to make. Whether your financial stability is more important than being in good books with your son, or you are ready to risk your money so that you are in good books with your son. So this is a decision you have to take, right?
This is
So
a
this is a
dilemma.
decision making. Yeah. This is something, maybe we can take it offline because we are running out of time.
Okay.
This is a decision making process which I can talk about later. Okay. Thank you. So one last question.
This is not a question, Mr. Nagaraja.
Yes.
You have given
Yes,
a
sir.
wonderful input. And then what I come to the conclusion is life is full of explore, experiment, experience,
Yes.
and empower
Yes.
self and others.
Yes.
That's what the
Yes.
conclusion is all about. Thank you very much for
Yes.
your wonderful insights.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So with this, I come to the close of my session. Thank you very much. You guys have been a wonderful audience. I thoroughly enjoyed interacting with each